with the same case. It was just yesterday that he was denied the bail. Now, Kejriwal had previously been questioned by the CBI in April. It's worth mentioning that Kejriwal is not named as an accused in the CBI's FIR from last year. Kejriwal was called for questioning by the Central Bureau of Investigation in connection with this same case in April this year. However, the Aam Aadmi Party Supremo has not been named as an accused in the FIR filed by CBI in August last year. Kejriwal was questioned by the CBI for over 9 hours in connection with the corruption and criminal conspiracy probe in the case. Now, the Enforcement Directorate and the CBI claimed that the Aam Aadmi Party-led Delhi government's liquor policy encouraged unfairly favoured ineligible parties for financial gain. Kejriwal and his party, on the other hand, reject these allegations and argue that the new policy would have boosted revenue sharing. The Aam Aadmi Party leaders have been crying foul and saying that the only aim of the BJP and Prime Minister Narendra Modi is to remove Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal by any means. That's what Sandeep Pathak, the Aam Aadmi Party leader, has said. Now, we also have several other political reactions coming in. Let's listen in.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी को आम आदमी पार्टी से डर लगता है। दिल्ली और पंजाब में हो रहे हर काम से डर लगता है। फ्री बिजली से डर लगता है, अच्छे स्कूलों से डर लगता है, मोहल्ला क्लिनिक से डर लगता है। इसीलिए वो झूठे केस करके आम आदमी पार्टी के नेताओं को जेल में डालना चाहती है, पार्टी को खत्म करना चाहती है। इसी साजिश के तहत 2 नवंबर को अरविंद केजरीवाल को ईडी ने समन किया। उन पे झूठा केस लगा के उनको गिरफ्तार करना चाहते हैं ईडी वाले, भारतीय जनता पार्टी वाले। पर मैं भारतीय जनता पार्टी को बता दूं कि हम जेल जाने से नहीं डरते, हम उनके झूठे केसेस से नहीं डरते। हम देश के लोगों के लिए, देश के हर आम आदमी के लिए काम करते रहेंगे।
It is clear as daylight. The Sharab Ghotala is a Ghotala of Kejriwal, by Kejriwal, for Kejriwal. And Mr. Kejriwal is the mastermind, is the kingpin of the Sharab Ghotala. There is no doubt left in it anymore. Today, the law enforcement agencies and all the investigation they have done so far has been vindicated by the Supreme Court. You said there was no Sharab Ghotala. The Supreme Court has differed from your view. You said there was no money trail. The Supreme Court says that there's a 338 crore money trail. You said Manish Sisodia is Kattar Imandar. The Supreme Court, lower court, high court, all of them have denied bail to Manish Sisodia. These courts, after the evidence placed in front of them, have denied bail to Sanjay Singh, to Vijay Nair, to Manish Sisodia. And all of them have said that the highest levels of Delhi government were collaborating and conniving in taking part in this entire Sharab Ghotala. Are all the courts wrong? Are all the courts vindictive? Are all the courts not able to see that you are Kattar Imandar? And today you must answer questions. Did the new Sharab policy get made without your knowledge, without your active connivance? Is it not true that there is a statement on record under 164 that it was with your active presence, connivance and information, knowledge and blessings that the commission was tweaked from 2.5% to 12% even though Dhawan committee did not recommend it?
जैसा कि खबर आ रही है कि अब केंद्र सरकार की ईडी ने दिल्ली के मुख्यमंत्री श्री अरविंद केजरीवाल जी को समन भेजा है 2 तारीख का। इससे बात साफ हो जाती है कि केंद्र सरकार का एक ही मकसद है, किसी तरीके से आम आदमी पार्टी को खत्म कर देना। और इसके लिए वो कोई कसर नहीं छोड़ रहे, किसी तरीके से कैसे भी फर्जी केस बना के मुख्यमंत्री अरविंद केजरीवाल जी को जेल में बंद किया जाए और आम आदमी पार्टी को खत्म किया जाए।
अभी भी खबर लगी है कि 2 तारीख को ईडी ने मुख्यमंत्री अरविंद केजरीवाल को शराब घोटाले के अंदर सम्मन करके बुलाया है। मुख्यमंत्री जी, आप जो मर्जी कहें, ईडी के बहुत सारे सवालों के आप जवाब आपको देने पड़ेंगे। और ये सवाल और भी महत्वपूर्ण हो जाते हैं जब आज सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने दिन में जब मनीष सिसोदिया के को बेल रिजेक्ट करते हुए टिप्पणी की 338 करोड़ रुपए के बारे में, उसका सवाल का जवाब तो आपको देना होगा, क्योंकि इस सब शराब घोटाले के मास्टरमाइंड और किंग पिन तो अरविंद केजरीवाल जी आप ही हैं। और हम तो शुरू से कहते आ रहे हैं कि वो दिन दूर नहीं कि जब आप जेल की सलाखों के पीछे होंगे। 2 तारीख को क्या होगा हमें नहीं मालूम, लेकिन बहुत सारे सवालों के आपको जवाब देने हैं। सवालों के जवाब से आप घबराइएगा नहीं।
It was an offing after the Supreme Court rejecting the bail of Mr. Sisodia. I have tweeted in the morning saying the same. that Mr. Kejriwal should resign now before he gets a knock from the ED, because he is a kingpin of the complete scam, liquor scam. Court has accepted the money trail of 338 crore rupees and had said, yes, there was a money trail, there was a scam. Now, even there are officers who are gone on as approval and has said on record that every policy, every change in the policy, every comma and full stop was dictated by Mr. Kejriwal. It happened in front of Mr. Kejriwal. So Mr. Kejriwal drafted the policy benefiting the liquor mafia, and now he is being called on that. He will have to answer a lot of questions. It's better he resigns now, or we will have to wait till the time he is arrested.
शराब नीति का घोटाला आया था, हम पहले दिन से कह रहे थे कि इस पूरे घोटाले के सूत्रधार अरविंद केजरीवाल हैं, और आज जब माननीय सर्वोच्च न्यायालय ने मनीष सिसोदिया की बेल खारिज की और साथ ही साथ ये भी एस्टेब्लिश किया कि 338 करोड़ की मनी ट्रेलिंग, तो अब अरविंद केजरीवाल को बताना पड़ेगा कि वो 338 करोड़ रुपए कहाँ खर्च किए हैं। और दिल्ली वाले अरविंद केजरीवाल के भ्रष्ट शासन से मुक्ति पाना चाहते हैं। अभी हमने दशहरा मनाया है, बुराई पे अच्छाई की जीत का त्यौहार मनाया है, तो आज हमें भी ये लगता है कि अब वो दिन भी आने वाला है कि सच्चाई की जीत होगी। अरविंद केजरीवाल और इनकी पूरी टीम जो छाती पीट पीट कर अपने आप को कट्टर ईमानदार कहती है, इनके सबके चेहरे बेनकाब हो गए हैं। ये काले चेहरे अब जनता के सामने आएंगे।
देखिए, ये जो ईडी ने समन भेजा है अरविंद केजरीवाल को, हमारे बंगाल की दीदी का भाई है। दीदी ने जो इंडी अलायंस है, इस इंडी अलायंस में मीटिंग में जाकर दीदी ने अपने भाई को जो बुद्धि दिया है, उस बुद्धि के कारण आज अरविंद केजरीवाल का डेप्यूटी चीफ मिनिस्टर जेल के अंदर है। अब चीफ मिनिस्टर जाने वाला है जेल के अंदर, वो दिख रहा है। तो ममता बनर्जी के साथ जो भी रहेगा उसको जेल के अंदर जाना पड़ेगा। अभी भाई जा रहा है, इसके बाद दीदी की बारी आएगी। पहले भाई जाके जेल अच्छी तरह से देख ले, उसके बाद जब बोलेगा ओके तो दीदी भी अंदर चली जाएगी। और सब इंडी अलायंस में जितने भी नेता हैं, सब एक से एक बढ़कर चोर है।
देखिए, इन्वेस्टिगेशन उस मामले में पहले से चली हुई है और स्वाभाविक है कुछ साक्ष्य इस प्रकार के होंगे जिसके कारण पहले सीबीआई ने इन्वेस्टिगेशन के लिए बुलाया और उसके पश्चात अब ईडी ने समन दिया है इन्वेस्टिगेशन ज्वाइन करने के लिए, क्योंकि ये सारा मामला बहुत लोगों से जुड़ा हुआ है और स्वाभाविक रूप से इसमें गंभीर आरोप जो पुष्टि की तरफ जो है वो बढ़ रहे हैं आने वाले समय में। जिस तरह से हम देख रहे हैं कि जिसमें कुछ लोगों की, इनके नेताओं की पूछताछ के बाद उनकी गिरफ्तारी भी हुई है और इसी मामले को लेकर के केजरीवाल जी को बुलाया है, तो ये साधारण बात नहीं है। तो कुछ साक्ष्य होंगे और सच हैं तो उनको अपना पक्ष रखना चाहिए। अगर गलत किया है तो निश्चित रूप से कानून अपना काम करेगा।
For all the viewers who have just joined in, Delhi Chief Minister and Aam Aadmi Party's national convener Arvind Kejriwal has been summoned by the Enforcement Directorate in connection with the Delhi excise policy case. He has been asked to appear before the ED on the 2nd of November. There are now several reactions coming in. BJP claiming that Arvind Kejriwal is kingpin, dictated every policy, and on the other side, the Aam Aadmi Party claiming that BJP is scared of Arvind Kejriwal and its only motive is to get rid of the Delhi Chief Minister. The Delhi, in fact, excise policy case has its origins in an FIR by the Central Bureau of Investigation due to alleged irregularities in the now scrapped excise policy. It was just yesterday that former Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia was denied bail in connection with the same case. Do remember that Arvind Kejriwal had previously been questioned by the CBI in April. It is also important to note that he has not been named as an accused in the CBI's FIR from last year. While the opposition parties continue to claim that this is a witch hunt, the BJP maintains that there are irregularities and they must be looked into, and also saying that calling for Arvind Kejriwal's resignation and alleging that Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, in fact, is the mastermind of the scam. Kejriwal was called for questioning by the Central Bureau of Investigation in connection with the same case in April. However, he has not been named as an accused in the FIR filed by CBI in August last year. He was questioned for over 9 hours in connection with corruption and criminal conspiracy probe in the case. The ED, Enforcement Directorate, has now summoned Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal on the 2nd of November, on Thursday, for questioning in connection with the Delhi excise policy case. Moving on now, the Maratha reservation agitation took a violent turn on Monday as agitators vandalized and set on fire the residence of NCP MLA Prakash Solanki in Bhid. Visuals shared online showed a large white-coloured house completely engulfed in flames and thick plumes of smoke rising from the building. A visibly shaken Prakash Solanki said that he was inside the house when it was set on fire, and fortunately none of his family members or his staff members were harmed in the incident. This incident comes days after the reservation protests in Maharashtra once again intensified after quota activist Manoj Jarange sat on an indefinite hunger strike on the 25th of October in the Antarvali Satari village in Jalna district. Now, the agitators are demanding reservation for the Maratha community in government job and educational institutions in the state. Maratha society is also becoming increasingly aggressive regarding Maratha reservation. The Maratha protesters set fire to the NCP building, the Sharad Pawar faction in Bhid city, due to which more than half of it was burnt to ashes. Take a look. After this, the municipal council office was also set on fire. As the Maratha reservation agitation intensifies, the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party's member of Legislative Assembly, Prashant Bham's office was vandalized by protesters. Bhamb, who is an MLA from Maharashtra's Gangapur constituency, faces the fury of protesters who are demanding reservations in educational institutions and government jobs in the state. The video of the incident showed that protesters barged into the MLA's office situated at Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj Chowk in Gangapur city. Notably, the city falls under the Chhatrapati Sambhaji Nagar district, formerly called Aurangabad. In the video, protesters were seen chanting slogans and carrying lathis with them. The protesters ransacked the office by attacking it with lathis. They were seen destroying windows, tables and many other things. Now, Bhamb, who has been a 3-time MLA from the Gangapur constituency, is not the only one whose office got attacked by the protesters. These protests are happening all across the state. The residence of Nationalist Congress Party MLA Prakash Solanki in Maharashtra's Bhid district was set on fire and stones were hurled at it earlier on Monday. Do remember, the Supreme Court invalidated the Maratha reservation in 2021, citing the 1992 cap of 50% on all reservations. Since then, there have been repeated calls from the Maratha community for reservations. Meanwhile, BJP MLA from Gevrai in Bhid district, Lakshman Pawar, resigned from his post supporting the demand of reservation of Maratha community. Pawar has written a letter of resignation to the Assembly Speaker as well. Do remember that the Chief Minister of Maharashtra Eknath Shinde has also said that he is in favor of reservation for Marathas. In Bhid, both the house and office of former minister and BJP MLA Jaydutt Kishir Sagar, were also set on fire by Maratha agitators. Take a look.
मधी नसलं पाहिजे कोणी
Maharashtra Chief Minister Eknath Shinde has also promised the Maratha community that he is in favor of the reservation for Marathas. He also spoke with the media. Let's listen in.
म्हणून जे मराठा समाजाला जे आरक्षण आहे ते टिकणार नियमातलं कायद्याच्या चौकटीत बसणार देईल म्हणून मी स्वतः त्या ठिकाणी आज बैठक घेतली सगळ्या कमिट्या बनवल्या प्रेस कॉन्फरन्स घेतली सविस्तरपणे मी सांगितलं फक्त माझी एवढीच विनंती आहे आपण मराठा समाजाने मराठा बांधव जे आहेत त्यांनी थोडा संयम बाळगणं आवश्यक आहे काही गोष्टी असतात त्या आज कुणबी दाखल्यांचा विषय होता मराठवाड्यातल्या 11,530 कुणबी नोंदी मिळाल्या आपण ती जस्टिस शिंदे कमिटी नेमल्यामुळे म्हणून सरकारचा हेतू स्वच्छ आहे सरकार कुठेही आडपडदा ठेवू इच्छित नाही परंतु कुणालाही खोटं आश्वासन देऊन खोटी फसवणूक सरकार करणार नाही जे करेल ते आपल्या सर्वांच्या समक्ष सर्वांच्या साक्षीने आणि ते काम आपलं सुरू झालेलं आहे या जस्टिस शिंदे कमिटीच्या माध्यमातून देखील आणि सुप्रीम कोर्टाच्या क्युरेटिव्ह पिटिशनच्या माध्यमातून देखील आणि म्हणून मराठा समाजाने थोडं धीर धरावा आणि टोकाची भूमिका टोकाचं पाऊल आपण उचलू नका शेवटी एक जीव आपल्याला महत्त्वाचा असतो
Maharashtra Chief Minister Eknath Shinde asking the Maratha community to calm down and exercise patience while also assuring that there will be reservation given to the Maratha community. The Maratha society is becoming increasingly aggressive regarding the reservation. Maratha protesters set fire to the NCP building, the Sharad Pawar faction in Bhid city, due to which more than half of it was burnt to ashes. The municipal council office was also set on fire. The BJP member of Legislative Assembly, Prashant Bham's office was also vandalized by protesters. It was the NCP MLA Prakash Solanki whose house was set on fire by the agitators in Bhid. Now, these violent incidents are coming days after the reservation protests in Maharashtra once again intensified after quota activist Manoj Jarange sat on an indefinite hunger strike on the 25th of October in Antarvali, Satari village of Jalna district. Lathi charge was also reportedly witnessed from some parts of the state where the protests were intensified and the protesters in fact went berserk. Now do remember that Maharashtra lawmaker Prakash Solanki's house was vandalized by a raging mob over the Maratha quota issue. The protests are said to have been triggered by alleged comments against a hunger strike by pro-quota activist Manoj Jarang Patil from the 25th of October. The Kaveri Water Regulation Committee recommends Karnataka to release 2,600 cusecs of water per day to Tamil Nadu at Biligundlu from the 1st of November to 15th of November. This is the gist of the deliberations of 89th CWRC meeting that was held on Monday. Now, Karnataka has made submission before CWRC requesting to report to CWMA that in the light of almost nil inflows into the 4 reservoirs, Karnataka will not be able to release any water from its reservoirs so as to reach Biligundlu, except that would be contributed from the uncontrolled catchment. Tamil Nadu has demanded that Karnataka has to release 13,000 cusecs for next 15 days, which works out to 16.90 TMC. Now, finally, CWRC recommends that Karnataka needs to ensure releases from its reservoirs so that the flows cusecs are released at Biligundlu starting from 1st of November 2023 up to 15th of November 2023. It is Karnataka versus Tamil Nadu yet again over the Kaveri water sharing issue. CWRC has asked Karnataka to release water in 15 days, while Karnataka has maintained that it won't be able to release any water given there are nil inflows from around 4 reservoirs. The committee has recommended Karnataka to release 2,600 cusecs of water per day to Tamil Nadu at Biligundlu from the 1st of November to the 15th of November. Now, this is what happened in the 89th CWRC meeting that was held on Monday. Now, today marks day 25 since Israel suffered potentially the worst attack in its brief history as a nation. Hamas carried out deadly attacks on southern Israel on the 7th of October. Here's the latest update from the war front. Israel will not agree to ceasefire in Gaza. That's a big statement there coming in from Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, who has stated that there will be no ceasefire in Gaza. Hamas releases video of hostages, demands a prisoner swap. Well, that's in fact the latest. The Israel authorities have called the video psychological propaganda. At least 8,306 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza. The war began on the 7th of October and the death toll, the Palestinian death toll, has crossed over 8,000. Meanwhile, the IDF has stated that the offensive will intensify. The Israel will send more ground forces into Gaza. That is what Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari has stated. IDF intensifies military operation in northern Gaza. The IDF has been bombarding Gaza to target in fact, the places, the areas where Hamas terrorists are taking shelter. Meanwhile, it continues to intensify its military operation in northern Gaza. Israeli airstrike severely damages Turkish-Palestinian Friendship Hospital. That's in fact the update coming in, and it has drawn strong condemnation from Ankara. Mideast leaders must consider two-state solution post the war. That's what Joe Biden, the United States president, has said. He has stated, in fact, that the Mideast leaders should consider two-state solution after the war is over. That's the latest from Israel-Hamas war, day 25. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu condemns Hamas' cruel psychological propaganda as the terrorist group releases a video showing 3 Israeli hostages in Gaza. Meanwhile, Israeli forces intensify their ground offensive in Gaza's northern city, targeting over 600 terrorist sites. Palestinian civilians face dire shortage of fuel, food and clean water amid the escalating conflict now entering its fourth week. Let's listen into what the Israeli Prime Minister had to say.
אנחנו נלחמים על הבית ואנחנו ננצח בעזרת האנשים האלה ואחרים שחדורים ברוח לחימה, ברוח הקרבה, ברוח הניצחון. תודה לכם.
On 7th of October, as Hamas undertook a brutal attack on Israel, the much-touted intelligence forces of the West Asian nation were caught completely off guard. The Israeli administration has admitted to an intelligence failure on their part and promised to launch a thorough investigation into determining what went wrong on that fateful day of 7th of October. Now, an investigation by a prominent American daily analyzed the failures of Israel that led to the Hamas attack. The investigation, based on dozens of interviews with Israeli, Arab, European and American officials, as well as on a review of several official documents of the Israeli government, narrowed down the factors which led to this kind of an attack by Hamas terrorist group. There are 4 factors. Let's tell you more about them. We're talking about Israel's failures, ignored warnings. In fact, how is it Israel's failure on Hamas that led to this attack? The first one is that the Israeli government under Benjamin Netanyahu ignored several warnings issued by the intelligence and military outfits. In July this year, which is just about 3 months before the Hamas attack, 2 senior generals from the Israeli army had addressed the Knesset, delivering urgent warnings about an impending attack on Israel. This was the time when Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was looking to push through the legislations which put curbs on the judiciary and emboldened his own government. The generals warned that the political turmoil inside Israel was in turn emboldening Israel's enemies like Iran, Syria, Hamas, Hezbollah and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad. The general said these entities believed that this was Israel's moment of weakness and an opportune moment to strike. This briefing, however, was listened to only 2 members of the Knesset, while the legislation curbing the judicial powers were passed overwhelmingly, in turn deepening the political turmoil in Israel. General Halevi, one of the 2 aforementioned generals, even tried warning Netanyahu in a separate meeting, but the Prime Minister refused to meet Halevi. According to the New York Times investigation, the Israeli government also ignored warnings coming from Jordan. The government, which is the custodian of the holy sites in Jerusalem, too issued warnings to Israel, but these warnings also were ill received by the Israeli administration. The second factor which allowed the 7th of October attack was Israeli intelligence and security over-focused approach towards threats from Hezbollah and Iran, which led to a neglect of the threats from Hamas. As per the New York Times investigation, ever since Hamas evolved into a governing power of Gaza in 2007, the Israeli authorities thought that they could contain Hamas with an extensive network of human spies, sophisticated surveillance tools and border fortifications. Israeli officials viewed Hamas as a regional threat and not as a global terrorist organization like the Hezbollah or the Islamic State. Now, taking the eye off of Hamas let the terror group regain its strength and work silently to launch such an attack on Israel. The investigation also focuses on Benjamin Netanyahu's alleged strategy of building Hamas as a way to balance power against the Palestinian Authority, which controls the West Bank and has long sought a peace agreement with Israel in exchange for a Palestinian state. The NYT article claims that Netanyahu often told his aides that a feeble Palestinian Authority would lower the pressure on him to make concessions to the Palestinians. The fourth factor is that the Israeli officials firmly believed that the 40-mile-long wall was enough to completely seal off Gaza and protect them from any attacks. They believed that the combination of remote surveillance and machine gun systems along with the massive barrier wall would make it almost impossible to infiltrate Israel. But the Hamas was smart and displayed strict discipline to breach this wall. The terror group used explosive drones that damaged the cellular antenna and the remote firing systems that protected the fence wall. Hamas claimed that it used 35 drones in the opening strike on the wall. Secondly, the Hamas terrorists divided themselves into several small groups, each of which swarmed the wall at close to 30 different locations, making it extremely difficult for the Israeli forces to fix the breach. Now, Israeli forces launched an attack on Gaza's main northern city, escalating a major ground offensive in the Palestinian enclave. This has prompted increased international calls for civilian protection. Both sides report clashes and casualties, with the Israeli military stating that they have eliminated 4 prominent Hamas operatives. The situation, however, continues to remain tense even as these events unfold. The Israeli Defense Forces engaged in heavy exchange of fire with the Palestinians at the Jenin refuge camp in the West Bank on Sunday. Now, as per the Palestinian Health Ministry, 4 people were killed and 5 others critically injured in the clashes with the Israeli forces. The Israeli media reported that clashes with the Palestinians also involved the use of drone strikes, apart from heavy exchange of fire. Israeli military spokesperson Daniel Hagari informed that the counter-terrorism raids were carried out in the Jenin refuge camp under the commander of the Kafir Brigade. As per reports, 51 wanted persons were arrested at the end of the extensive operation. Israeli forces claim 38 out of 51 arrested people were operatives of the Hamas terror group. Hamas has claimed that overnight strikes by the Israeli forces struck the Turkish Friendship Hospital for Cancer in the Gaza City. This hospital is the only facility which is equipped to treating cancer patients in the whole of Gaza. A spokesperson for the health ministry in Gaza said that the airstrikes by Israel damaged the roofs, doors and windows of the hospital, making it difficult to run services in the hospital. The hospital had been witnessing a high influx of patients after patients were transferred from the Shifa hospital, which was recently destroyed by the Israeli Defense Forces airstrikes. Trucks carrying humanitarian relief crossed into the Gaza Strip on Sunday amid escalating tensions in the region. This was according to the United Nations World Food Programme. 10 trucks carrying humanitarian aid entered Gaza from Egypt by the way of the Rafah border crossing, and that the Palestinian Red Crescent Society received the supplies, including food and medical necessities. As of Sunday, the Gaza Strip had received a total of 118 trucks of humanitarian aid since the outbreak of the current conflict. However, the Israeli side still prohibits the supply of fuel to the coastal enclave, leaving its generator-powered hospitals on the brink of interoperability. In addition, a plane carrying 26 tons of aid landed at El Arish International Airport in Egypt on Sunday. The aid, which included medicine, was provided by the WHO and medicines, and will be distributed to the hospital in the Gaza Strip once the entry permit is obtained. South Africa, meanwhile, has called upon the United Nations to deploy a rapid protection force to protect civilians in the Gaza Strip. Expressing concern at the situation in Gaza, South Africa's Foreign Ministry in an official statement said that entire generations of families have been wiped out in Gaza over the last 3 weeks and there was need for global accountability for all the deaths. South African president is among those who have previously offered to help mediate in the conflict. Earlier this month, South Africa's foreign minister held a phone call with the Hamas leadership about getting humanitarian aid into Gaza, while simultaneously clarifying that it did not support the terror group. Residents were reported to have broken into United Nations Palestinian Refuge Agency warehouse and distribution centers to obtain essential supplies like flour. This situation has unfolded as aid supplies to Gaza have been severely restricted due to the recent conflict between Israel and Hamas, causing significant strain on UNRWA's ability to assist people in the region. Even before the conflict, the organization had expressed concerns about its mandate due to funding shortages. UNRWA, established in 1949, provides public services and humanitarian aid in various regions, including Gaza, the West Bank, Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon. Coming up next, a closer look at the concerns raised by a group lobbying for the families of Israeli hostages held by Hamas. They insist that the safety of their loved ones must be a top priority for the Israeli government, especially as military operations in the Gaza Strip intensify. Take a closer look.
A group lobbying for the families of Israeli hostages held by Hamas say the safety of their loved ones needs to be a top priority for the government. Their concerns come as the Israeli military expands ground operations in the Gaza Strip.
Keep pushing.
Adva Adar believes her 85-year-old grandmother is in Gaza, based on photos and footage purporting to show her capture. Reuters could not independently verify the location or date of filming of videos showing hostages being kidnapped.
My grandmother doesn't have the time to wait. She needs to be back home now. She's ill and she needs medication and she needs medical care.
On Saturday, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel's goals in the war were to destroy Hamas's governing and military capabilities, as well as return the more than 200 hostages.
As her boyfriend, I truly afraid that these two goals is like in conflict with each other.
Noam Alon's girlfriend, Inbar Hyman, is one of the hostages.
I think that first, the hostages should be free.
Israel has tightened its blockade and bombarded Gaza since Hamas gunmen stormed across the border into Israel on October 7th, killing at least 1,400 people, as well as taking the hostages.
We are not political people or, military people. We are two simple people that try to save our sister.
Leah and Leon Yanai believe their sister Moran was taken hostage at the Nova Music Festival.
We found a clip from TikTok with begging for her life.
And they say time is of the essence.
If Moran is listening to us, Moran, we are united together. We love you so much.
Continue to be positive as you are. And think about the big hugs we're all going to give you when you come back. And I want you to know that we're doing everything we can to bring you back home as soon as possible.
Tensions rise in U.S. communities amid Israel-Hamas war. In the U.S., the conflict in Israel and Gaza has left Jewish and Palestinian American communities on edge. Experts are warning of a rise in anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. Demonstrations on both sides have broken out across the country. Meanwhile, a female Israeli soldier who had been kidnapped by Hamas has been rescued. The rescue happened during ground operations in Gaza. The IDF said that the soldier was medically checked and is doing well and has met her family.
Nolan Drazin has never been this worried walking around campus at Georgetown University. Over the past couple of weeks, he's seen protests which launched into hateful tirades. He says he received threats of violence himself and that people tried to find his home address. We watch a video of a rally at the University of Pennsylvania where demonstrators can be heard calling for genocide against Jews.
It's extremely unsettling to see the calls for genocide, to see the calls for one state with no Jews in it, to see them walk right by and right in front of Jews on campus. It takes a toll, but you have to show up and you have to do what you have to do, otherwise they win.
What Nolan has done is co-found a group of Jewish law students who support Israel. The group wants to take a stand against what they describe as growing anti-Semitic and anti-Israel rhetoric in the US.
This gentleman.
Fear is mounting among the Palestinian-American community too. In Chicago, this little boy was killed in an alleged hate crime. Authorities said 6-year-old Wadia al-Fayumi was attacked for being Muslim and that tensions over the conflict in the Middle East led to the killing. Abir Ramadan Shinawi works as an educational consultant in the Palestinian-American community. She would only talk to us in a park as she fears her office may become a target.
The 6-year-old boy who was murdered in the Chicago area from my hometown has caused a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear in parents who are making sure that their kids are being safe as well. My daughter, she texts me from work and she's like, "Mom, I feel anxious. I don't know why." And we talked about it and it was about everything that was going on. And she said she feels paranoid about going out.
Tensions in the US are so high that President Joe Biden has spoken out to address the issue.
We must, without equivocation, denounce anti-Semitism. We must also, without equivocation, denounce Islamophobia. And to all you hurting, those of you hurting, I want you to know I see you. You belong.
Amid growing divisions, there are instances of Jews and Arabs coming together. This rally was organized by Jewish Voice for Peace, a group that's critical of Israeli policy.
And I need to say something, I need to do something. We've been the victims of genocide before, and I can't sit by and watch my people now do that to others. So hoping to be here and hoping collectively we can send a powerful message.
As a Jew, it's important to me that my grief not be weaponized in this moment.
It's a beautiful thing that there are so many Jews, because I think it's a very appropriate representation of what it's like back home for people like us as well. It's not really about the religion at the end of the day. It's about humanity. It doesn't matter what you believe in, it doesn't matter what you look like, it doesn't matter where you're from.
Switching our focus to Kerala now, the Kerala police has recorded the arrest of Dominic Martin, who is the prime suspect in the Kalamassery blast case. Martin has been arrested under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, the Explosives Act and also on charges of murder. Martin, who is a native of Kadavanthra, surrendered before the police on Sunday after posting a video on social media taking responsibility for the explosion. The police is carrying out further investigation and gathering evidence linking Martin to the explosion. Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan has stated that the investigation was progressing well. Vijayan added that the blast victims will be given best medical treatment with the government bearing all the expenses. Meanwhile, Kerala Governor Arif Mohammad Khan met the blast victims at the Government Medical College in Kochi and said that the government was handling the issue properly and that this was not the right time to play the blame game. Listen in.
The explosion that took place at Kalamassery yesterday, one Dominic Martin has been arrested by the police and the investigation in this regard is progressive.
Okay,
that I have already mentioned. Section 302 IPC, Section 3 of the Explosive Substance Act and Section 16(1)(a) of the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. The accused was questioned in detail. Apart from that, other evidence was also collected by the investigation team. Based on that, the investigation team has reasonable grounds to believe that the person has committed the crime. As such, he was arrested by the police. As far as the statement of the accused and the other surrounding circumstances are concerned, at present it is found that this person has committed the crime. Whether there was any assistance rendered by anybody or whether there is any other more persons involved, all those will be subjected to detailed investigation. All those things we have concrete information, but it will not be appropriate on my part to divulge all those details at present.
Well, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of the Bulletin. Thank you very much for joining me. Have a good day ahead.
They picked my husband. He was tortured there for 2 years. He was enforced disappeared. We had no idea where he is. Within 15 minutes, we got the information that the whole area is surrounded by Pakistan Army. I came out